Queens, it's me, Haley, and I'm here to talk to you today about books. I know, crazy, right? Well, you may have noticed I have started reading a lot more recently. I've said this a billion times, but I set myself a goal this year to read 30 books in 2024, which felt achievable and still feels achievable. I'm getting a little ambitious this month, and I've decided that I'm going to go over my August TBR with you, to be read, in case you weren't aware of what that means. And I picked out 7 books to read in 1 month. Am I going to read all of these books? Probably not. Am I going to try to read all of these books? Definitely. So I'm going to go over with you what is on my August TBR, why I chose them, what they're about roughly, because honestly I don't even know, and how I plan to read them since I have 3 different methods of reading: physical, audio, and digital. So let's jump right into it. For reference, I only have 4 of the 7 books available, but I'll throw up the covers on the screen so that you can see the pretty covers that drew me in. To start off, one of the books I want to read this month is A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. This book I've seen a lot of people talk about on BookTube, Bookstagram, all of the places that I consume all the time. And I'm obsessed, and I haven't even read it. And I know very little about what it's about, but I've heard little things here and there, like book club. That drags me right in. Living in a book, that drags me in, because who doesn't want to live in a book? I'd say you're kind of psychopathic if you don't want to. So here is what A Novel Love Story is about, in case you haven't read it yet. Eileen, Elsie Merriweather, loves to get lost in a good happily ever after. The fictional kind, anyway, because at least imaginary men don't leave you at the altar. She feels safe in stories, at home in books, which might be why she's so set on going to her book club's annual retreat this year. That sounds like a dream. She needs good friends, cheap wine, and grand romantic gestures, no matter what. When her car unexpectedly breaks down on the way, she finds herself stranded in a quaint town that seems like it's right out of a novel. I can't make this up. Because it is. This place can't be real, and yet she's here in Aloriton, the town from her favorite romance series, where the candy store's honey taffy is always sweet, the local bar's burgers are always a little burnt, and rain always comes in the afternoon. It feels like home. It's perfect and perfectly frozen, trapped in a late author's last unfinished story. Elsie is sure that must be why she's here, to help bring the town to its storybook ending. Except there is a character in Aloriton whom she can't place. A grumpy bookstore owner with mint green eyes, an irritatingly sexy mouth, and impeccable taste in novels, and he does not want her finishing this book. Which is a problem, because Elsie is beginning to think the town's happily ever after just might be intertwined with her own. Can you see why I want to read this book? This not only has a beautiful cover that sucked me right in, but a beautiful synopsis that sucked me right in. It seems like it's gonna be a quick read, which I'm pumped about. So I have no doubts that I'm gonna finish this month. It's probably gonna be one of the first things I start reading. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I cannot tell you how excited I am for this book. The next book that I have on my August TBR that I am so excited for is The X-Vows by Jessica Joyce. I haven't decided if I want to read it on Kindle or listen to it. It'll probably be a last minute decision. I think right now I'm leaning towards getting it on my Kindle and reading it, but I don't know. Really, the cover of this one sucked me in at first because I see a vineyard. I guess maybe it could be farmland, but I'm gonna go with vineyard. I'm a sucker for a winery. I love me a glass of wine. I love the beauty of a vineyard. Also, I believe it's set around a wedding, which I just read The Paradise Problem and loved that. It was so good. So here is what The X-Vows is about. Estranged exes must stick close together to save their best friend's wedding after a string of disasters in this swoony and steamy second chance romance. Georgia Woodward lives by her lists, none more so than the one about her ex, Eli Mora. It's full of the ironclad do's and don'ts they've been following since she returned to the Bay Area after their cataclysmic breakup 5 years ago. With the wedding of their mutual best friend Adam looming, and them about to step into their roles as best woman and man, Georgia's never needed it more. She refuses to threaten their tight-knit friend group with her messy and still very present feelings. The rules on that list will keep her cool, calm, and compartmentalized. What's not on her list? Eli arriving from New York with a new rule-breaking attitude, or the all-inclusive venue burning to the ground, leaving the bride and groom in dire straits? I clearly didn't read very far into this synopsis, but I am now. Nor does she anticipate Adam asking her and Eli to help him make a miracle happen together. As Georgia and Eli rush up to Napa Valley to pull off the perfect wedding, their old chemistry comes back in Technicolor. Somewhere between cake tastings gone wrong, disastrous DJ auditions, and Eli's heated attention, Georgia starts recognizing the man she fell in love with before. And if she lets herself break her rules, she might find what they're building isn't the something old that ruined them. It's a chance at something new. I feel like this book is going to have me so giggly, and that is so exciting to me. I love a book that makes me giggle. I love it. I love giggling. Also, Napa Valley. I've been wanting to go there so bad because my sister has been talking about her trip with her husband to Napa Valley, and I want to go. I've been living through her stories, and now I get to live through this book, so I cannot wait to read it. The next book that I want to read this month, I kind of put them all together, I feel like, because I've got like all of my romances up top here. So the next book that I want to read this month is Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. Cara, how do you say Bastone? Also, the cover sucked me in, but it's kind of confusing. Like, I picked this book because it feels fall to me. The cover feels fall. I know it could also be interpreted as springy. And I don't typically like look up and see when a book is set, like what season it's set in, because half the time they don't even really put that out there. Sometimes, but not all the time. So I'm just going with it. We're just gonna go with it. Also, I wanted to pick this book because I feel like it's a little bit out of my comfort zone. The first two romances that I picked are some tropes that I'm very comfortable with: magical realism in a novel love story, and a wedding scene in The X-Vows. But I have not really read any romances yet that have to do with unplanned pregnancies, but I'm gonna give it a shot. We're gonna see how it goes. I'm a little terrified of this one, honestly. I'm hoping it goes well though. Here is what Ready or Not is about. A surprise pregnancy leads to even more life-changing revelations in this heartfelt, slow burn, friends to lovers romance of found family and unexpected love. All those words are just snapping in my brain, except the surprise pregnancy, so we'll see what happens. Eve Hatch is pretty content with her life. Her apartment in Brooklyn is cozy and close to her childhood best friend Willa, but far from her Midwestern traditional family who never really understood her. While her job is only dream adjacent, she's hoping her passion and hard work will soon help her land a more glamorous role. And sure, her most recent romantic history has consisted of not one but two disappointing men named Derek. At least she always knows what to expect. Until she finds herself expecting after an uncharacteristic one-night stand. The unplanned pregnancy cracks open all the relationships in her life. Eve's loyal friendship with Willa is feeling off right when she needs her most, and it's Willa's steadfast older brother, Shep, who steps up to help. He has always been friendly, but now he's checking in, ordering her surprise lunches, listening to all her complaints, and is suddenly kinda hot. Then there's the baby's father, who is supportive but conflicted. Before long, Eve is rethinking everything she thought she knew about herself and her world. Over the course of 9 months, as Eve struggles to figure out the next right step in her expanding reality, she begins to realize that family and love in all forms can sneak up on you when you least expect it. I'm hopeful. I'm thinking that this will be good. I also don't know if I want to read this one or listen to it. I don't have the physical book for that. The next book that I want to read this month is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I don't know anything about this book, honestly. We're gonna learn about it together when I read the back. But I love fantasy and romantasy. As you know, I am deep into A Court of Thorns and Roses right now. We'll get to that later. And I've read a little bit of fantasy before. I'd say that my romantasy arc definitely began with A Court of Thorns and Roses, but I want to expand and read more, for sure. And I'm trying to get a nice mix of genres here this month. A maiden, chosen from birth to usher in a new era, Poppy's life has never been her own. The life of the maiden is solitary, never to be touched, never to be looked upon, never to be spoken to, never to experience pleasure. What? Waiting for the day of her ascension, she would rather be with the guards, fighting back the evil that took her family, than preparing to be found worthy by the gods. But the choice has never been hers. A duty. The entire kingdom's future rests on Poppy's shoulders, something she's not even quite sure she wants for herself, because a maiden has a heart and a soul and longing, and when Hawk, a golden-eyed guard honor bound to ensure her ascension, enters her life, destiny and duty become tangled with desire and need. He incites her anger, makes her question everything she believes in, and tempts her with the forbidden. Sounds like they're going to do it. A kingdom, forsaken by the gods and feared by mortals. A fallen kingdom is rising once more, determined to take back what they believe is theirs through violence and vengeance. And as the shadow of those cursed draws closer, the line between what is forbidden and what is right becomes blurred. Poppy is not only on the verge of losing her heart and being found unworthy by the gods, but also her life when every blood-soaked thread that holds her world together begins to unravel. I have no idea what any of that means, but it sounds exciting. So I am excited to read this book. So I'm excited to read a fantasy, romantasy from a different author and see what I think. See how it goes. Give it a little taste, give it a little nibble. Next up, we know her, we love her. I want to read A Court of Silver Flames this month. I am definitely not gonna get through this book this month, I don't think, especially if I try to read the other books that I've been talking about. I don't anticipate that I'm going to get through this book this month, but I'd like to start it. I'd like to get it going. I'm actually still finishing A Court of Frost and Starlight, but it is so small that I think I'm going to finish it before August actually starts, because spoiler alert, it's not even August yet. I'm filming this in July. So I'm not gonna go into too many details on this one. I'm not gonna read you the synopsis of it because it is the 4th book in a series, so I don't want to throw anything out there that other people who might be earlier on in the series aren't expecting. But I've heard what this is about. I know what I'm getting myself into, and I am scared, but kind of pumped. I'm just gonna chill, I'm gonna relax. I don't have another book after this in the series to go to, so it's not like I'm on a time crunch. So I will start this in August. We'll do that. I'll start this book in August. Yeah. That's what I'm gonna do. The next book that I want to read this month, one of the books that I am excited to get me in the mood for fall, is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I talked about how I got this while I was on vacation because I was ready for fall while I was on vacation in Florida. I don't know what's wrong with me, actually. But I've also been wanting to add some more thriller reads to my TBR. And I know all of the BookTube girlies love Riley Sager or have mixed feelings on Riley Sager, but usually like one of his books. So I just been giving it a shot, especially because I mentioned how this feels like the end of summer, especially being set on a lake, you know? So I feel like it's a nice transitionary period to get me in the fall mood while not going full Halloween. Casey Fletcher, a recently widowed actress trying to escape a streak of bad press, has retreated to the peace and quiet of her family's lake house in Vermont. Armed with a pair of binoculars and several bottles of bourbon, she passes the time watching Tom and Catherine Royce, the glamorous couple living in the house across the lake. They make for good viewing. A tech innovator, Tom, is powerful, and a former model, Catherine, is gorgeous. One day on the lake, Casey saves Catherine from drowning, and the two strike up a budding friendship. But the more they get to know each other and the longer Casey watches, it becomes clear that Catherine and Tom's marriage isn't as perfect as it appears. When Catherine suddenly vanishes, Casey immediately suspects Tom of foul play. What she doesn't realize is that there's more to the story than meets the eye, and that shocking secrets can lurk beneath the most placid of surfaces. I am really excited to read this. It might honestly be up there with one of the first books that I start reading, probably after a novel love story, because I am just so in the mood to switch it up into a thriller. I don't know, it just like really speaks to me, and also I get like Rear Window vibes by the fact that she's like spying on people, and I love Rear Window. Okay, the last book that I have on my August TBR is another thriller. It is The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley. I have seen conflicting reviews on this. I'm gonna give this a chance and see where it takes me. It sounds exciting. I mean, the description sounds really exciting, but everybody I watch and everybody I know that's read this does not like it. Secrets, lies, murder. Let the festivities begin. It's the opening night of the manor, and no expense, small or large, has been spared. The infinity pool sparkles, crystal pouches for guests healing have been placed in the seaside cottages and woodland hutches. The manor mule cocktail is being poured with a heavy hand. Everyone is wearing linen, but under the burning midsummer sun, darkness stirs. Old friends and enemies circulate among the guests. Just outside the manor's immaculately kept grounds, an ancient forest bristles with secrets, and the Sunday morning of opening weekend, the local police are called. Something's not right with the guests. There's been a fire, a body's been discovered. The founder, the husband, the mystery guest, the kitchen help, it all began with a secret 15 years ago. Now the past has crashed the party, and it'll end in murder at the midnight feast. I think that sounds exciting. It's giving me White Lotus. Maybe I am just delusional, but that's okay. I can be a little delulu. It's fine. We'll see how it goes. I'm thinking about listening to that one, because it will probably make me feel a little better if I don't end up liking it. All right, so that is all of the books on my August TBR that I am going to try to get through at least a little bit. So yeah, that is all I have for you, actually. I just wanted to talk with you about the books that I want to read, tell you what I'm going to be reading in case you want to read any of them. And you can check out everything that I've read this year so far at my Goodreads link down in the description below. If you'd like to continue seeing monthly TBR videos from me on this channel, then be sure to like the video below so that I know that this is actually something you're interested in seeing. Yeah, that was it. So thank you so much. Bye-bye, and I'll see you next time.